Here's an experiment I wanted to try. It's really windy outside. So I laid some thin plastic over the vent. This is painter's plastic, commonly referred to as 9 by 400 because it's 9 feet wide, 400 feet long. Folded up neatly in a box. It's great stuff. Comes in a roll. Anyway, so I cut a piece. I put it on. I trapped it in place with a paint stick, so I didn't have to use tape on a dusty floor. And look at that. The wind is just pumping air in and out of here like, might as well leave the door or the windows open. There are 9 of these vents in this house. So you imagine all this air pumping in and out. You couldn't possibly keep it heated. The wind just shows that the problem exists. It makes it easy to see because the plastic blows up and down. I tried using a plastic grocery sack bag, but it was actually a little too heavy. This painter's plastic is so light and so thin that if there's a breeze or any pressure, it lifts it up very nicely. So what I'm thinking of doing is just sealing these shut temporarily, all 9 of them, and then just heating the house with my space heater. It's 1500 watts. It heats up this whole area, probably half the house, pretty darn easily. But I think if these were sealed and not leaking air so bad, I think it would actually do a better, the heater would do a more efficient job. So, this is something you can hardly see to believe. Now, some of this leakage might not just be the HVAC system, the vents leaking. The seal isn't real good on this vent. Between the, well, here I can just... Can you see the gap right here? I can put anything through there. It's really, the gap's really bad. See that? That's not good. Now that is a leak unto itself. That's its own leak, which I sealed up in the kitchen vent to see if it would leak as bad. So air leaks from this gap into the house, plus air is leaking from the system into the house. So this one still has like one good staple over here, and it just needs to get pulled up and stapled back in place. And I don't know how to turn the light on my camera, so you can see the gaps are pretty significant. So there's a couple of reasons the vent would be leaking, but the point of showing this is that it leaks quite severely. Quite severely. So whatever the source is, it needs to get fixed times 11 vents, because it's getting cold. Whatever your season is, that's the worst. There you go. Now, I'll walk you. Oh, sorry about that. I'll walk you into the kitchen. I set this up the other night. Now, this vent is sealed to the floor. It's sealed to the subflooring. It's nicely taped and all set up, but you can, if you look carefully, I think you can see it moving anyway. Now it's not moving nearly as much as the other vent, which means there's no gap around the perimeter. It's all sealed off nicely. So it looks like we have two components leaking, and that is the gap and then the ducting system in the house. Somewhere has leaks in it that it's exposed to the outside, so it pressurizes and depressurizes depending on the wind. This one's a lot better. Now, the other thing that's different here is this is, ooh, that was a good one. This is a duct on a different run. This house is basically divided into two halves. And this is a different run, so it might have, different integrity. It might be leaking less. But it still proves the point that there's a pretty significant leak. This run on this side of the house has 4 vents in it, floor registers like this, and the other one I just showed you has 5, for a total of 9. So anyway, this painter's plastic is really great stuff for testing things like this. Heck, you might even just tape the whole thing shut over the vent and stop the leak, temporarily. Because this leak is so severe, it's literally like having a window cracked open. Maybe more than cracked. Look at that, how much that plastic moves. And this one's been sealed to the subfloor. So the other leak is right here. Let's see, let me get you some light. This is the return air. It's 12 by 24 inches. And it's so much larger than the floor vents that it could seriously move some air. Now, yeah, look at that. This was just installed this past May, so 7 months ago. Brand new ducting from this location all the way to the heat pump. It's all brand new. So, unless it got torn open, which, I don't think so. And I looked at the sealing job he did. He did a pretty good job, but something's still leaking. Doesn't matter what. Now, this vent is connected to the heat pump, but the heat pump is also connected to these Drafty floor vents. So it's all interconnected. And wherever the leak, or in this case probably leaks sources are, it's going to influence this big duct too. It's going to pressurize and depressurize it, and it's going to pump cold, crappy air in and out of this house just like the little vents do. It's expensive to run the propane furnace, and it's expensive to run the heat pump. It does heat the whole house, but if I'm the only one here, what the hell do I need to heat the whole house for? So I tend to spot heat it with my space heater over by the couch. So in theory, because I spot heat it, I could seal all these vents off and not have to use them at least this time of year. And that might be worth it because they're pumping a lot of air through this house, an awful lot of air. So anyway, this is an easy experiment to perform. Here's the 9 by 400, and you can see because it's 9 feet wide by 400 feet long. But see, the box is only That box can't even be 14 or 16 inches wide. The plastic comes out and then you unfold it and stuff. So anyway, it's pretty cheap, and I've been using this box, I don't even know for how long. I can't even tell you, forever. I used it on the whole interior of the house. I've painted 50% of the house, maybe 55%. And this stuff is invaluable. But because it's so thin and light, you get to perform experiments like this to find out the bad news. But yeah, so I got one huge vent and 9 small ones, all pumping air like there's no tomorrow. And since I'm going to heat it with a space heater, I think I got to figure out, because the floors here are, dusty. I mean, it's particle board. So trying to tape the plastic down to the floor is not practical. I think probably I have to use painter's tape and tape the plastic down to the vent itself. The problem is the vents are just sitting in place. They're not sealed to the floor. So it would be better to seal it to the floor if I can. And that'll stop the airflow. It won't stop the cold from being convected through the plastic, but airflow has so much more impact on an environment. Anyway, that's enough of my long, boring video. This is very important to find this out in your house, no matter what kind of house you live in. So it's a cheap, easy experiment, and you can see this thing's heaving up and down, which means it's pushing cold air right into the house without hesitation. So, something needs to be done. See you, bye.